Hello everyone, Isha here. I just got off of the Grid Network's breaking news episode where we were talking about Lewis Hamilton leaving Mercedes for Ferrari. It was a great episode, lots of stuff we talked about. I definitely suggest you guys go and check it out. It was a really, really fun episode. But for my video, I just wanted to keep it quick, do something small. But I don't know where you guys all were when you heard the news, but I was asleep. I wake up and the first thing I see on my phone is this news, and it was insane. Probably the biggest F1 related news we've heard in years, and definitely a very big shock, um, considering that the 2024 season hasn't even started yet. And then on top of that, not only is Lewis Hamilton now going to be driving for Ferrari in 2025, but we also don't know who that open seat is going to go to. Because had the deal been Carlos Sainz to Mercedes, Hamilton to Ferrari, that's something that they would have announced right away. And the fact that it has been quite a few hours now, and we still don't know who's taking that spot, I don't think it's going to be going to Carlos Sainz at all. We were talking about this in the Grid Network, but there's multiple other options of drivers that could possibly take that spot. Before I get into that, I do want to talk about Carlos Sainz and where he could potentially go because being out of that Ferrari seat now, we know he's not going to be going to Mercedes because that's something that would have been announced by now. The other option he has is that he could wait for Audi until they come into Formula One in 2026. But in the meantime, what's he going to be doing in 2025? Is he just going to be working with Audi, testing things out for them? No actual racing sort of a role. Would he potentially think about leaving Formula One for a year, testing out some other series? But then the problem with that is it makes it sometimes harder to come back into Formula One then and to find a spot if you do end up leaving it. Now, of course, there are lots of examples of drivers who've gone and come back, but it does make things a little bit harder. You want to stay in Formula One. You don't want to leave it, go find another role, and then try to come back. But one option is he could be with Audi. Another option is he could potentially lose his seat in Formula One and go and try out something else. But with Carlos Sainz, I think it's very, very open. His future, he's got a few options, I think. And it's really sad seeing him out of a seat because if we do remember, he was the only Formula One driver who won a race last season besides Max Verstappen. So I'm personally really surprised that he's out of that Ferrari seat now and that Lewis Hamilton's been brought in. But I think the biggest motivation for Hamilton coming into Ferrari is to secure an 8th World Championship title. Now, the problem is Ferrari isn't in the best place either. So if he can't get that 8th World Championship title with Mercedes, which we've seen that he's been struggling there the past 2 years, they don't have a good car. We've seen that Ferrari has also been struggling. So is Ferrari the best option? I feel like Ferrari is a bit of a fail-safe option for Lewis Hamilton. Coming over here, it's that one, he can try to get his 8th World Championship title with a new team. Or if he doesn't get it, at least he goes down having driven for Ferrari, right? Like he's probably this is going to be the team where he retires, considering his age. So, the fail-safe part of this is that one, he wins the championship. If he doesn't, at least he's driven for Ferrari. He's driven for the team where so many of our greats in the past, decades have driven. So it's that bit of sentimental, I think, emotional connection as well. Because we know that Ferrari isn't exactly the best option, or they're not in the best place right now to give Lewis Hamilton that world championship title. But, now taking a look at the open Mercedes seat, who's going to get that spot? Lots of options there. My first thought went to Mick Schumacher, who is their reserve driver. However, I think that while Mick Schumacher may be one of their options, he's not necessarily the first. I think he'd be their safer option. He has been testing out the Mercedes quite a lot that last season. And we know that he is talented. He does deserve a chance back into F1, but whether that's through this 2025 Mercedes seat, that is still yet to be known. Now, other options that they have, next season we've got 14 drivers who are going to be out of contracts. So silly season is going to be in its prime time, and that means lots of moving around, lots of interesting driver pairings. So for that Mercedes seat, one of the potential options I talked about was Alex Albon. In that Williams, he has done a lot of interesting stuff this past season. He has a lot of talent and skill. He's young. He could easily be paired up with George Russell, and I think that he could do well in a Mercedes. He's got a lot of potential. That Williams is holding him back a little bit, so if he has a car like the Mercedes, which definitely is a better car than the Williams, he could perform better. Now, another option that Mercedes has, which is a bit more of a surprising and sort of weird option, is Daniel Ricciardo. I know a lot of people are thinking that Daniel Ricciardo would go after Checo Perez's seat in Red Bull, but I think that he would have a better option in that Mercedes, because we know that Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen together in a Red Bull would be a little bit hectic, is the nice way to put it. So I think that Daniel Ricciardo, if he's aiming to make that comeback back into Formula One, and really, start to try to win races, I think that the best place for him to try that would be alongside George Russell and under, Toto Wolff's leadership. I think that um, he would have a really good chance of improving himself there. And the Mercedes is definitely a better car than the one that he's currently in. Even though the Mercedes has a lot of issues, but I think that that's a good option for him. Now there are a lot of other drivers that could take that spot. With the Mercedes, it's open to pretty much anyone. But as I mentioned, one of the safe options would definitely be Mick Schumacher. But I think that that would be the only option that they would go through with had all the other options failed. But anyways, stay tuned. There's gonna be a few more videos, at least one or two coming out before the first race of the 2024 season in Bahrain. It's set to be in about a month, so we do have some time until then. And also to touch upon the news that we got for Formula One yesterday with Andretti's bid being rejected. Today has just been crazy, crazy for Formula One. Um, Honestly, I personally feel like Andretti should have been given that spot in Formula One. It would have been interesting. Definitely would have made more spots available to the younger drivers that we have in like F3, F2 in the F1 Academy. But that's a topic for a whole nother day. But anyways, I think that Formula One has had a lot of big information or news coming out these past 2 days. So if they could hold in the news with whoever's going to be taking that Mercedes spot for a few more days, that would be much appreciated, because over at the Grid Network, we have been doing a lot of coverage with Formula One yesterday, today. Please do comment with who you guys think would be taking that Mercedes spot after Lewis Hamilton leaves, and about how you guys think Lewis Hamilton's going to do in Ferrari. Is he going to be able to work well with Charles Leclerc and get that 8th world title, or is he going to have some difficulty here? So do let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you all in my next video.